Hello, welcome to this second video in the series. In this video I'll be sharing a brief overview of the stages of faith. If you haven't seen it already, you may want to watch the first video I recorded, as it will give this one a little more context. I was introduced to the stages of faith during my training as a spiritual director, and if you're interested in exploring this further, I've posted a link below this video to the book The Critical Journey, and I've also posted a link of a podcast from Janet Hagberg, one of the authors, where she shares in greater depth about the stages of faith. I highly recommend reading the book and listening to the podcast. I've found them both really insightful, encouraging and comforting, and my hope is that you will too. Before we dive in, I'd like to share a little about understanding of the stages. All 6 stages and the wall are really important to the spiritual journey. We need all of the stages, both for the gifts they give us personally and to the church. Generally speaking, the church is better at working with people in stages 1 through to 3. This can raise some issues though, as people may leave the church when experiencing stage 4 or the wall. Their seeming collapse of faith may be uncomfortable for those in ministry who are focused on more faith-strengthening programs like Bible study and discipling. My hope is that people in all stages will love and respect people in all stages. And this method gives us a way of appreciating and understanding, hopefully with even more compassion, the various ages and stages that we're all at on our journey of faith. Okay, let's dive in. So what are these stages of faith? Well, firstly, we have the recognition of God, then the life of discipleship, the productive life, the journey inward, through the wall, the journey outward, and the life of love. Let's take a closer look at each of these stages. So here's a summary of stage 1, the recognition of God, where faith is recognizing God, and this stage humbles us. We begin the journey of faith. Some characteristics of this stage is we have a sense of awe, like when we have a baby, a sense of need, dominated by an addiction, or maybe we're going through a divorce, a natural awareness of God, as in nature or reading a poem, greater meaning in life, more than life on the surface, a sense of innocence. Our faith feels childlike. There's a sense of being on a honeymoon with God. And our goal, whether stated or not, is to find someone who will help us in our helplessness, or give us the answers to our burning questions. We can get stuck at this stage when, instead of feeling love and awe, we can think we never measure up and feel spiritually bankrupt and unworthy. Moving from stage 1, becoming part of a strong support group is key to helping people move on from the first to the second stage. And this allows life to take on more significance, finding a leader to follow, discovering the way. And a catalyst for our movement is accepting self-worth and reducing isolation. Now, regardless of what stage you're at, maybe you're at stage 1 or maybe you're a stage further, you may find it helpful to spend some time reflecting on this question, either now by pressing pause or at a time that is more suitable for you, in prayer or by journaling, or however you find reflecting on questions helpful. And the question is, how and when did you first recognize God in your life? Was it maybe through a sense of awe or a sense of need? So moving on to stage 2, the life of discipleship, where faith is learning about God. This stage grounds us, and some characteristics of this stage are: it's a time of learning, gaining meaning from belonging, answers found in a leader, a cause, or a belief system, a sense of rightness, security in our faith, It's a season of filling and receiving. Our goal in stage 2 is to trust God, the people who have come before us, the belief system, our leaders. We strive to obey all that we've been taught. Some people can become stuck in this stage by developing a we against them mentality, being rigid in righteousness, switchers and searchers. As we transition from stage 2 to stage 3, we begin to acknowledge our gifts and contributions and seek to steward them well. We recognize uniqueness and seek responsibility. A catalyst for moving is risk-taking, acceptance of spiritual gifts. You may find it helpful to spend some time reflecting on the following question. When have you felt part of a faith or spiritual community? So moving on to a summary of stage 3, the productive life, where faith is working for God, doing the stuff. At this stage, rewards and exalts us. Some characteristics of this stage are a growing awareness of our uniqueness in community, using our gifts for the common good, responsibility, value placed on work well done, a spiritual goal achieved, starting a church, finishing seminary, etc. The goal of this stage is we strive for success and effectiveness in our ministry, to do our best for God, both within our community and beyond. Some people become stuck in this stage by overachievement and weariness in well-doing. Overly zealous, self-centered, life as performance, loneliness from not being known. So moving from stage 3 to stage 4 is often marked by a personal or faith crisis or a loss of certainty. Our answers no longer work. We feel abandoned. We can't find God. We look for direction. We need others who are in the same place to help us move to the next stage. A catalyst for movement is letting go of success and accepting vulnerability. If you resonate with being at this stage, or maybe you're a stage further, you may find it helpful to spend some time reflecting on this question. Which of your talents, gifts, do you feel good about and are willing to share? So moving on to stage 4, the journey inward, where faith is rediscovering God. This stage unsettles us and is marked by a life or faith crisis. So some characteristics of this stage is a life or faith crisis, loss of certainty with life and faith, a search for direction, not answers, a pursuit of personal integrity in relation to God, and an apparent loss of faith. In this stage, we strive to find some comfort in this difficult, new, challenging place, which our plans, gifts, and success do not matter very much. We strive for patience and for the clarity to see what our next steps are when they appear. People can become stuck at this stage by always questioning, consumed by self-assessment, immobilized. So moving from stage 4. Being open to the cost of obedience is critical as we transition from stage 4 to 5. But first, we must encounter and successfully scale the wall. Moving from 4 to 5, letting go of spiritual ego, self-centeredness. We surrender, accepting God's purpose for our lives. Our confidence is in God. We laugh at our own ego. We seek wholeness through personal healing and pilgrimage. We're willing to commit to whatever it takes. We yield not once in a while, but moment by moment. So a catalyst for movement, finding peace through giving up the search for self. We give up the illusion of control and we trust in God. Allowing for new certainty in God, we become comfortable with more ambiguous understanding of Him. Open to the cost of obedience, we live in a greater degree of surrender than ever. If you resonate with being at this stage, or even if you're a stage further, you may find it helpful to reflect on the following question. How has your faith fallen apart? When? Why? So moving on, here's a summary of the wall. The place of inner choices, where faith is our will facing God's will and choosing whether or not to surrender. This stage unmasks us. It's the realization that fixing others, over-helping others, codependency, or excessive enabling of others is not selfless service. They betray a sense of low self-esteem, a desire to control. The wall is a difficult but necessary phase to entering stage 5. Some characteristics of the wall is the mystery of our will meeting God's will face to face. Knowing it's time to face the truth beneath the surface of our lives. Letting God's will be our will. Uncovering our deepest secrets, wounds, fears, and insecurities. Considering unconditional love. Feeling like we're in the muck, the dark night of the soul. The goal? To survive the excruciating, wonderful experience of the wall, so we can live out our deepest heart's desires. Moving through the wall. Discomfort, surrender, healing, awareness, forgiveness, acceptance, love, closeness to God, discernment, melting, moulding, solitude and reflection. We have to make time to listen to God and feel Him. Prayer becomes more about listening to God. Scripture reading is more about entering into a story and being the person healed. If you resonate with being at this stage, or maybe at a stage further, you may find it helpful to spend some time reflecting on the following question. What is standing in the way of God living God's life through you? So moving on, here's a summary of stage 5, the journey outward, where faith is surrendering to God. This stage transforms us. In this stage, we work out our calling, moved by the freedom of healing and forgiveness. It's similar to stage 2, but there we surrender to what we are sure of. Here we surrender to what we are unsure of. Some characteristics of this stage is a renewed sense of God's acceptance, a new sense of horizontal life, a sense of calling, vocation or ministry, concern and focus on others' best interests, a deep calm or stillness. The goal of this stage? Our goals are intimacy with God and deep healing for all. We begin to show outward signs of our intimacy with God while we are in the wall. Now these signs are evident to more people. Calm, sense of humour, willingness to confront issues without anger, joy, ability to see our shadows and laugh, willingness to embrace and heal addictions, compassion, love, boundaries. People can become stuck at this stage by seemingly being out of touch with practical concerns, apparently careless about important things. Moving from stage 5, no striving, just evolving, growing deeper, seeing God in all of life, being God's person. A catalyst for movement, vocation is satisfying. We have found our calling and are comfortable there. Being whole seems enough. If you resonate with being at this stage, you may find it helpful to spend some time reflecting on the following question. Do you have a glimpse of God's purpose for your life? Here we are. Stage 6, last stage, the life of love, where faith is reflecting God. This stage transcends us. It's about the transcendent life in God. Stage 6 is really an extension of stage 5 in that we are letting ourselves merge more clearly and deeply with the heart of God. Some characteristics of this stage: Christ-like living in total obedience to God, wisdom gained from life's struggles, compassionate living for others, detachment from things and stress. We are relaxed and detached from the need of the things of this world. Life underneath or on top. We can live in obscurity or fame. Life abandoned. We can give up anything for God. Family, job, money, comfort, etc. The goal of this stage is to allow God to have the same power in our lives that Jesus allowed God to have in his life. To live as Jesus lived. Caged at this stage is not so much about appearing stuck as it is about appearing weird to others. Separation from the world, neglect of self. Our whole life is simple, apparent waste of life. A summary of this stage is marked by an extreme detachment from the world and strong attachment to God. If you resonate with being at this stage, you may find it helpful to spend some time reflecting on the following question. How is God everything to you? I hope you found this introductory video on the stages of faith helpful. As previously mentioned, I've posted a link to the book The Critical Journey and also a podcast from Janet Hagberg if you're interested in exploring more. Also, I've created a short PDF from the book giving passages from the Bible for each stage, which you'll find below. I look forward to seeing you in the next video where we'll go through a spiritual practice together. It's my sincere belief that spiritual practices will help nourish our relationship with God, regardless of what stage of faith we currently find ourselves in. All the best.